Hi everyone! It is quite apropos because the theme of this video is actually the reason why I haven't been filming or as active as I used to on social media, including Instagram. So I think it's the best time for me to film this because I'm coming out of this cycle and I hope it can help some of you. The topic of this video today is going to be hypersensitivity. And it is a word that is used more and more often today. I feel like we are finally able to recognize hypersensitivity as something that is more common among people. Not more common, but at least it's more accepted. For me especially, the fact that I've learned about hypersensitivity helped me deal with it, because sometimes you can feel constantly on edge, constantly touched by everything around you, and it feels like a curse when it's not. It's basically just a construction of your own brain, of your own nervous system, and you know, it's a fact, it's neutral. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It has a lot of amazing benefits as well as a couple of downsides, as everything in life. And today I want to explain to you how I figured that I was hypersensitive and signs that you can recognize hypersensitivity in yourself or in others. Knowing that you are hypersensitive doesn't mean anything about your worth, doesn't mean anything about how you're going to navigate through your own life. It doesn't mean that it's going to be harder for you. It just means that it's going to be different. And if you know yourself, if you know that this is how you are, it becomes less threatening. Often when we talk about hypersensitivity, we have this image of somebody that is overly emotional. And it is not the case. It is not, you are not hypersensitive if you cry all the time. It doesn't have to be that range of emotion. Being hypersensitive is actually feeling all emotions in a way that is louder, maybe more destructive if it's not managed well, but it's not just I cry when I'm angry, I cry when I see a sad advertisement on TV, I cry whenever somebody tells me something. This means that you can connect to others and mirror an emotion that you see. Crying all the time isn't bad at all, but it is not always the only sign that somebody is hypersensitive. For example, if I take my own example, I very rarely cry. I have to force myself sometimes and organize crying sessions to get stuff out of me, out of my system, because I cannot cry. Even if I'm extremely sad, I cry, but definitely not every day, not every week, sometimes not every month. I have to force myself to actually acknowledge my emotions and let them out. I feel everything strongly, and so strongly to the point that sometimes it numbs me completely and I become lost and I have too many emotions that cannot come out, and it kind of, for me, it's like a block. And since I can feel several emotions very strongly at the same time, sometimes my body and mind just ask me to shut down and to protect myself, and I'm gonna become numb. This is how it translates into my behavior personally. In this video, I'm going to explain to you my path towards understanding that indeed I was hypersensitive, and I don't think that I've written anything to kind of deal with it. Mainly this video will be about maybe recognizing the signs, which could help you get diagnosed and have the proper help, the proper medical advice, because I'm not a psychologist. I can just tell you about my experience, which in turn can help you get help if need be. Obviously, and as you know, I've gone through several types of therapies. I've had EMDR, I've had talking therapies, hypnosis. I've had a lot of different stuff that helped on different areas of my life. And indeed, that word of being hypersensitive was first spoken in my psychologist, not psychiatrist, but psychologist cabinet. As I said in the beginning, hypersensitivity, it will turn any emotion in something that is perhaps exaggerated compared to others. Instead of being linear, like I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel happy, on a level that is manageable, in a way that you can say, I feel angry, it will pass. Let me be angry for as long as I need, and it will pass. When you are hypersensitive, your anger or your sadness or even your happiness will be 10 times stronger, and it will be almost uncontrollable. Your anger will be rage, your sadness will be sorrow or despair, your happiness will be euphoria, etc., etc. Nothing can be linear, everything will be more. What are the signs that you might be hypersensitive? The first one is, of course, anxiety. Because if you feel everything super strongly, it's so obvious that it can turn into something like anxiety. And anxiety, mind you, it is not just stress. Stress is normal. It is one of the human response to life. It is not anxiety. Stress is a response to a situation. It takes over your whole body, your whole mind. You cannot reason with that feeling. And you can get anxious even in happy times. You can be anxious and not hypersensitive. You can be hypersensitive and not be anxious, but oftentimes you can find anxiety in people who are hypersensitive. Anxiety is basically an hyper response to stresses. As I said, we all have stresses in our lives. This is normal and inevitable, but anxiety will make you feel like that stressor is everywhere at all times, and it is life-threatening. At some point in my life, everything, either good or bad, that was happening in my life will make me feel anxious. Even the good times, and that's the sad thing about it, is that even when everything is fine, I would find a threat to that happiness. As in, this is either too much emotion, and I cannot deal with it, so I'm turning anxious. Because, when you're happy, your body releases hormones. There's a body reaction as well. And if you are hypersensitive, any movement, anything that you can feel will be stronger. So, of course, even happiness can make you a bit unstable because it's too much, basically. Second sign that you might be hypersensitive is sensory difficulties. Hypersensitive sensory difficulties, it's, you can see where the problem is. You can have emotional sensitivity or sensory, which has to deal with your 5 senses: hearing, taste, touch, sight, whatever. Here I'm talking about loud noises or a specific type of noise. You can have certain tastes that feel absolutely horrendous and that you cannot stand. There's also certain textures that might repulse you. Light, flickering lights, something too bright, something too loud, just things around you that make your body go into a reaction mode of, this is too much, I cannot have this. And you enter in that, panic mode of, get that away from me. For me, it is mostly noises. Like, for example, a crying baby. My friends know that if there is a crying baby next to me, I can go into rage mode, I can cry. I said I didn't cry, but it can make me cry if it lasts too long. And I will go into a panic mode. I cannot forget, I cannot avoid that noise. It's becoming my whole world. For example, if we're at a table having lunch with friends and there's a crying baby next to us, I will not be able to focus. I will not be fine at all until the baby stops. And then I will need like 5 minutes to calm down. I've had breakdowns because of repetitive noises. Another example, once I remember I was in a bus and the voice inside the bus that was telling the name of the stops that we're going to stop at was too loud. And it might sound random, but I remember it felt like immediate danger, and that noise, that loud voice announcing the stops was making me go mad. ASMR, for me, is torture. If you want to make me want to punch a wall, which I don't do, but I really wanted, like, it could make me go violent. ASMR. I want to, wow, just thinking about it. I know that for some people it is texture. I know some people who cannot wear anything else than cotton, things like that, and it can be a real suffering, a real pain for people with hypersensitivity. Same for taste, being very specific with what you eat in order to decrease your levels of reaction, of discomfort. These things are directly linked to hypersensitivity. And also, it might also be ADHD. It can also be some type of mental specificity. So if you recognize yourself in these, maybe it could be interesting to go see a psychologist, and maybe they could help you diagnose this or even something else. This is never random. This will be my conclusion for this little part. Being overly repulsed by something or only comfortable with certain types of food, of lighting, of texture, this is not random. It is not just a preference. It is not just, I don't like that. If you are repulsed, if you feel aversion to some things like this that belong to the sensory realm, it is not random, and you should talk about it. The third one, obviously, will be intense emotions. And with that, I feel like it is often eluded or kind of pushed aside, because having strong emotions is not considered abnormal. Sometimes we see memes and that say like, oh, me after a minor inconvenience, and you see people going absolutely crazy. It's fun, but on a daily, it is not. Having intense emotions when it is not the right time or place, when it stains your friendships, your relationships, your work relationships as well, it is not just, I feel intense emotions and that's it. It can become really, really difficult to live with. It can lead to longer problems like depression, when you cannot prioritize your emotions. Let's say I've had an argument with a friend and this becomes, again, my obsession. It becomes the only thing I can think about. I will, long after the argument, I would feel the same way as during the argument. It's like some sort of PTSD. That feeling follows you for a longer period of time than normal. I tend to leave arguments over and over and over again. And oftentimes, people might link that to emotional immaturity. And I mean, if we translate emotional immaturity with not being able to manage emotion, prioritize, and deal with them, yes, perhaps. I mean, for me, it comes from traumas, deep traumas in childhood and then later on. And that, but I remember as a child, everything felt like it was the end of the world. If I felt something negative, it will follow me. If I felt something absolutely amazing, I would relive that again and again and again and again. I would become completely crazy with any emotions. I cannot part them from my life. It might sound random, but I swear when you look at your friends around you, when you discuss things in life, and you can see that after a breakup, some people can feel fine 2 weeks after, even though because they managed it. And I'm not saying that they're doing something wrong or that it wasn't real. Let's take an example. Friend of mine breaks up with their partner, long-term, short-term, whatever. They take the time to feel that emotion, to cry, to talk about it, to kind of let go, to really be in that emotion. But you can see that it does not become their whole identity. It's something that is with them at that time, but you can see the evolution. You can see how they manage to the point that, a couple of weeks, months later, they're completely fine. When something difficult happens to me, my whole body becomes what happened, which gonna take me to the fourth sign, and it is one that I've mentioned a lot on my channel before. It is somatics. Somatics, as I've explained in other videos, it is your body's way of telling you that something is wrong. It's basically an illness, a chronic illness, or eczema, just something that shows on your body. Once that thing that was stressing you out is gone or settled, somehow the somatics disappear. And with me, I'm the queen of somatics. My body will tell me, maybe because I'm scared of feeling the things that I feel, because I feel them so strongly and they impact my whole entire life. I've kind of protecting myself from feeling too much because I know the extent of what I can feel. So with time, I realized that I was shutting myself down before feeling too much so that I wouldn't be overwhelmed. And you can never avoid an emotion. It will come, it will translate into mental illness or a body illness. It can go from a rash to a natural chronic illness to stomach pain to digestive problems. Somatics are not to be taken lightly. And if you are hypersensitive, your body will also absorb that feeling and push it back out. So to conclude, I see my life as a sort of cup that never empties. And the more I live, the more I experience stuff, it's like it fills up, it fills up, it fills up. And with me, the glass is already kind of full, and each day there's more, and it just spills out. It never empties. And I'm trying to deal with that, obviously. I'm practicing every day, mindfulness, meditation, things that put me into a safer place. On a more positive note, because it sounds like once you're hypersensitive, you cannot escape that and you will just feel everything constantly 10 times more than everybody else, and everybody thinks that you're crazy because why would you react like this? It's because I don't know. Aside from that, it is such a chance also to feel mesmerized by also the amazing things that life can bring, because again, you might feel the bad stuff very strongly, but the good things feel like a blessing and a connection to the divine. And if I didn't have that divine feeling sometimes, not me, but having a real connection with it all, I think my life would be boring or less magic. There is also magic in feeling everything strongly, as long as it does not impact you, or as long as it doesn't prevent you from living things. But I believe that there is an equilibrium to be found in this. It's never good or bad. You can manage those emotions, you can manage, maybe desensitize yourself to a couple things, but generally you have this amazing chance to feel connected, to feel the greatest things in life. And sometimes, yeah, I see myself spiraling through the bad stuff when my friends come out of this circle very easily, or they're not even as impacted as I am. But at the same time, I also see the difference when feeling amazing things, when describing the feeling of being in love, or being or feeling connected to nature, or feel, you know, there's an amazing exploration also in your emotions when you have this capacity. And this is something that does not necessarily resonate with most people, and I've heard people tell me, I could never handle this much. Even when being in love, I could never handle being in love or feeling so much. I need quieter. And I don't want to sound like, oh, I'm better than you because I feel things more strongly. This is not my point at all. To each their own. I feel lucky to experience amazing things like this. And yeah, I was born like this. This is something that I've come to terms with. When you're younger, especially a teenager, you wish that you could be someone else, that you could be not stronger, but that you desperately wish for an easier lifestyle, for an easier nervous system, for blah, blah, blah. And you wish that you wouldn't be so much. I've heard that I was too much my whole entire life. My parents, my friends, people at school, everybody. Mara, she's too much. The more I get old, the more I realize that it's also who I am, and I shouldn't be ashamed of that. I should be able to handle it, because in relationships it can become a nightmare, and I've been a nightmare for a couple of people. But yeah, it's something that I have to take responsibility for. But it is also amazing to accept yourself just the way you are. This is not going to go away. If this resonates with you, just know that you are normal. You are just one of those people who have a stronger capacity to feel things, and your pain might feel like torture, but joy feels like euphoria. Always remember that as above, so below. This is something that you should keep in mind. Yeah, just know that I've been like that since I can remember, and it led me to amazing things. Remember that whenever I felt stuck and numb, because sometimes it stopped me in my life, I went to see a psychologist and a psychiatrist. I never, even though I accepted it, I never stayed, I never stopped. I'm a strong advocate for therapies. Different types of therapies. It doesn't have to be like a talking therapy. There are so many amazing types of ways to heal. And it doesn't have to be with a doctor. It can be through sports. It can be through alternative medicines. It can be through so many things, but never stop exploring other ways. And also, being hypersensitive might ask from you different outlets, because at the end of the day, you will need to express those energies, and you might need to find outlets for it. I hope you found some answers. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought about it, and if you have any topics that you would like me to talk about, I'll be happy to hear them and maybe do a video about them. In the meantime, I wish you a wonderful summer, end of summer. It is August right now. And I'll see you in another video. Bye! Bisous!